starting off by marking the centers on here because some of the stencils that I'll be using are basically just one half of an element, and it will be mirrored and flipped. And you know, it doesn't have to be centered, but you know, in order to be kind of, I don't know, creative as I go, I'm going to be working from the center of the image and creating the elements as I work away from the center of focus. And I'm going to use a combination of the stencils and stuff that we have available to do that. I'm just going to start by marking my center roughly. I'm just going to come in and I'm just going to lightly ghost around it. Make sure that if and when you're doing this, you're not getting too carried away with your paint and you stick it down on the other side and you flip it over. You know what I mean? And you do the opposite side. And we'll use the hands and put them in place here. And before I get too carried away with developing the focus of the painting, I'm going to take some of the other elements of the stencil and I'll start to create some of the other composition. I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm going to try and experiment. Putting a skull head right in the middle of the dragon head. No, I'm just messing around. I'm going to use the chains here, just kind of frame it off a little bit. Sometimes if you need to hold this stuff down for a long period of time, you can use like a spray adhesive. Now I got that in there and I'm going to start creating some of the details. Yeah, I'm just gonna use some of the references as I'm working on these stencils just to go around and use as a guide. And then some of the stuff, you know, I come back in and re-emphasize, and I want to get a little bit more Christmas here and there. And I'll start to render some of the shaping. So I like to picture the scales in the face being somewhat almost like a topographical map, and the lines are going to kind of help accent some of the actual shape of the skull. And I do that really lightly by laying out some of the reference points and stuff like that. I'm going to be enhancing a little bit further as I get along with it. Almost like a fingerprint in some ways, the way the lines all kind of work somewhat together in a direction or a flow according to the shape or the structure of the actual dragon head. I'm going to go ahead and keep popping this in off and on again, just so I can work the shadows and stuff the way I want to work them. I'm going to keep working on the edge here. Kind of working with my light source as well. And I'm just having fun with this. I'm not like... This is experimentation time for me. But at the same time, show you guys how to not feel like you confined to what is painfully obvious with the stencils, you know. Do a lot of different stuff with them. Have fun. Spread your creative wings. You know, when you get done with something like this, if you're working monochromatically like this, you know, you can come back in with candies and tint it. And I'm going to create a lot of shape and create the sense of fullness with the form of the skull by using some simple core shadowing here along some of the indentations and different accents in the shape of the skull here on the dragon. Opaque green and red mixed together with a little bit of black. Everybody's probably wondering what I'm going to do with the skull in the middle of the head here. How I'm going to make it all work. Honestly, I don't even know. Huh? Yeah.
We all know that.
Okay. I'm doing a lot of these connective plates or parts of the bone, stuff like that. I'll start off with the dagger stroke at the heaviest part of where the creases may fold into each other, and I kind of have the dagger stroke kind of work down and away. And not necessarily completing a line going around it, but simply suggesting that that line exists there by creating a portion of it at the bottom and a portion of it at the top, not necessarily connected by the same consistency and line, but with that information that your mind is receiving, it puts it together as though it is one continuous line. Your mind wants to do the rest of the work for you in that painting. And I'm going to put my stencil back on. Start to create some of the outer edges. A little more commitment. I would set that up by running a vertical lines with the darker color. And all I'm doing is creating a background for the highlights. That's most of the work can be done with the highlights, but I knock it in first with the dark color, and then I'll come back in with white, the highlights to do that. I like to do one half at a time. Everybody's probably wondering why don't I go over and do the other side. I generally work from one side to the next with the anticipation of where the light source is on both sides. If I was doing something that wasn't symmetrical like this, then I wouldn't feel necessarily compelled to do one side or the other. If you're working with paint that dries slow and you drag your hands through it, then I would work on the opposite side first. In other words, if you're left-handed, start at your right first and work your way left if you're, left-handed, or right-handed, vice versa. What's that? About 30, 25, 30, somewhere in there. I'm just kind of ghosting in some of this line work that I'm going to be enhancing. When I'll start to do some of the preliminary core shadow, then the length of that. As soon as you add that shadow, it really starts to take on shape and have some definition and, you know, form. From there, it's a matter of developing some of the detail and stuff. You can kind of see how the lines here, I call them the topographical type of lines, kind of enhance the whole effect of the shape that it's defining. It's almost like if you were to take like little cross sections of the structure, and you're kind of setting that up with this type of work here, and it really helps enhance the three-dimensionality of the shapes, structure. And then after I get the main ones done, the main dividers, and I come back in really quick, like with this little squiggly stuff that I'm doing to kind of create a little texture on there. But still being cautious of how that main one dictates the shape, and then adding these as a little bit of detail or references. It's really important to have your paint reduced perfectly for this type of line work. And a lot of people have difficulty spraying solid lines or keeping their airbrush working properly.
Really terrible for this people.
I have a tendency to work on a real small scale, and that's mostly because my airbrush is giving me the ability to go in and do the details that, you know, whatever my mind can make sense of, or, you know, whatever it can create, the airbrush is going to be able to do. So I have a tendency to take maybe a little bit more time than a lot of people, but I'm really going after the nitty-gritties, trying to get the really, really tight stuff that just draws you into the painting. I think that shot shows pretty well the difference between the left side and the right side, you know, being, you know, initially the stencil that we have, and how to take it from the point where you've sprayed it and used it as a reference, adding some creativity, you know, creating something a little bit different, adding a little twist on the norm or the expected, and you know, and really it just gives you a lot of freedom to mess around. You have the elements and you just kind of take things and add to them. And I don't know exactly where I'm going to go from here, other than I have to finish this up, and I don't think I'm going to finish this class.